Captain Alan Rogers stood at the view screen on the bridge of the USS Vanguard. The massive battleship hummed with power around him as final preparations for launch were underway. He watched the busy dock workers outside as they removed the last of the connection tubes. "Captain, all systems are green. Engineering reports the core is stable," said Lieutenant Samantha Kelly from her communications station. Her voice was steady, but Rogers could hear the tension underneath. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Status of the crew?" Rogers asked, turning to face his bridge officers. "All personnel aboard and at stations, sir," replied Security Chief Grace Patterson. The former Special Forces officer had been hand-picked by Rogers himself. "Security teams report ready." It wasn't supposed to be like this. The Vanguard was meant to be revealed during peaceful negotiations with the Galactic Confederation, a show of human ingenuity rather than force. But that was before the attack on Europa. Rogers looked down at the message on his personal tablet. One more time, the images from the outpost still burned in his mind. The destruction, the bodies, all because the diplomatic meeting had gone wrong. "Sir," Kelly called from her station, "Admiral Hart is on secure channel." Rogers nodded and the main screen switched to show Admiral William Hart's grim face. The lines around his eyes seemed deeper than they had been just days ago. "Captain Rogers," Hart said formally, "the situation has escalated. The Khazari have issued an ultimatum. They demand we surrender all outer colonies within 24 hours, or face, as they put it, extinction-level consequences." Rogers felt the bridge grow quieter as every officer pretended not to listen. "Their ambassador?" Rogers asked. "Ambassador Threll has returned to their fleet. He claims the attack on Europa was merely a demonstration." Hart's voice hardened. "They've taken hostages from the diplomatic vessel, mostly support staff who weren't evacuated in time." Chief Engineer Peter Wright muttered something under his breath from his station. The veteran spacer had seen conflict before, but nothing like this. "Orders, sir?" Rogers asked, though he already knew the answer. "The Vanguard is officially activated, Captain." Hart's image leaned forward. "Proceed to the diplomatic rendezvous point. Show them what humanity can do, but try to get those hostages out first. The last thing we need is to start a galactic war. And if the Khazari fire on us?" Hart's expression was stone. "Then you are authorized to respond appropriately. Just remember, the Vanguard is the only ship of her kind we have. Don't lose her." "Understood, Admiral." The screen went dark, and Rogers took a deep breath before turning to his crew. "Navigation, plot a course to the rendezvous coordinates. Engineering, prepare the fold drive. We'll be making a statement entrance." "Yes, sir," responded Navigator John Diaz, his fingers already moving across his console. The young prodigy worked faster than anyone Rogers had ever seen. "Chief Engineer," Wright spoke up. "Captain, the fold drive hasn't been fully tested in combat conditions. There's a risk." "Noted, Chief," Rogers interrupted. "But we need the element of surprise. How long until we're ready?" Wright sighed. "Give me 30 minutes to run final checks." "You have 20, Rogers replied firmly. "Lieutenant Kelly, ship-wide announcement." Kelly nodded and opened the channel. "All hands, this is the captain." Rogers straightened his uniform. "Crew of the Vanguard, this is Captain Rogers. As most of you know by now, our mission parameters have changed. The Khazari have attacked Earth territory and taken human hostages. They believe we are weak, primitive, and unworthy of our place among the stars." He paused, looking around at his bridge crew. "Today we proved them wrong. The USS Vanguard was built in secret for exactly this kind of situation. We carry weapons and defenses unlike anything the galaxy has seen. But remember, our priority is rescuing the hostages. We are not starting a war today if we can avoid it." Rogers gripped the rail in front of him. "Every person on this ship was chosen because you're the best humanity has to offer. Now it's time to show the Khazari exactly what that means. Prepare for departure." Rogers out. As Kelly closed the channel, Dr. Laura Mitchell entered the bridge and approached Rogers. "Captain, weapon systems are fully online. The gravity manipulation array is calibrated and ready," she reported. As the lead weapons scientist, Mitchell had spent years developing the technology that made the Vanguard unique. "Will it work as designed, Doctor?" Rogers asked quietly. Mitchell nodded. "Theory says yes, But as the chief engineer would remind us, we've never used it against an actual target. Let's hope today isn't the day we find out it doesn't, Rogers replied. The massive battleship began to move away from the dock, its engines glowing softly against the backdrop of Earth. At over 2 kilometers long, the Vanguard was the largest vessel humans had ever built. Its sleek black hull absorbed light rather than reflected it, making it seem like a moving shadow against the stars. Clearing dock perimeter, Diaz announced from navigation. All stations secure for fold space transition, added Lieutenant Kelly. Rogers took his captain's chair, feeling the weight of command more heavily than ever before. Take us out, Mr. Diaz. Once we're clear of Earth's gravity well, activate the fold drive. Aye, Captain. As the Vanguard accelerated away from Earth, Rogers received a private message on his console. It was from Vice Admiral Frank Carter, his old mentor. Alan, remember what we discussed. The Khazari respect strength above all else. Don't hold back if they push you. Make it quick and make it clear. Good luck. 20 minutes later, the massive ship hovered at the edge of Earth's solar system. Fold drive charged and ready, Captain, Wright called from engineering. Lieutenant Kelly, any last messages from command? Rogers asked. Kelly shook her head. No, sir. Just a data packet with the latest intelligence on the Khazari fleet positions. Rogers nodded. Put it on my screen. He studied the formation of alien ships clustered around the space station where the hostages were being held. The Khazari clearly weren't expecting a rescue attempt. Why would they? As far as they knew, humanity had nothing that could challenge their warships. Sir, Kelly said suddenly, we're picking up a transmission. The Khazari are broadcasting on an open channel. Let's hear it, Rogers ordered. The harsh voice of Khazari Commander Vexathal filled the bridge. People of Earth, your time among the stars comes to an end. To demonstrate our resolve, we will execute 1 human hostage each hour until your surrender is received. Your primitive vessels cannot reach us in time. Your colonies will become Khazari territory. This is the natural order. Rogers' jaw tightened. Plot fold space coordinates directly between the Khazari fleet and the station, Mr. Diaz. Dr. Mitchell, power up all defensive systems, but keep weapons cold until my order. Sir? Kelly looked concerned. That'll put us in the middle of their entire fleet. Rogers nodded. That's the idea, Lieutenant. He pressed his comm button. All hands, battle stations, secure for fold space jump. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for what was to come. Fold drive at full power, Wright reported from engineering. Rogers leaned forward in his chair. Engage. The stars outside the view screen twisted as the Vanguard disappeared into fold space. Earth's secret weapon was on its way. Sit tight, Rogers whispered to himself as the ship hurtled through the dimensional shortcut. Human battleship incoming. The USS Vanguard tore through fold space, the impossible physics of its transit creating a soft hum that resonated through the hull. Inside the ship, the crew braced for their arrival. 10 seconds to exit, Navigator John Diaz announced, his eyes fixed on his console. Captain Alan Rogers gripped the arms of his command chair. Shield status? Regenerative armor at full capacity, Dr. Laura Mitchell replied from the weapons station. The system is ready for immediate deployment upon exit. Rogers nodded. Remember, people, we show restraint. This is a rescue mission first. 5 seconds, Diaz counted down. Lieutenant Samantha Kelly looked up from her communications panel. Captain, I've prepared the broadcast message as ordered. 3, 2, 1. The view screen flashed as the Vanguard tore back into normal space. The massive human battleship appeared without warning, materializing between the Khazari warships and the station holding the hostages. Shields up, Rogers ordered calmly. Full sensor sweep. Security Chief Grace Patterson reported quickly. 7 Khazari warships detected, 5 in attack formation, 2 guarding the station. Weapons hot on all vessels. The bridge fell silent as the Khazari ships, caught by surprise, scrambled to respond to the unexpected arrival. They're scanning us, sir, Kelly said. Their signals are increasing in intensity. Rogers stood from his chair. Put me on an open channel, Lieutenant. Let's make our presence known. Channel open. Attention, Khazari vessels. This is Captain Alan Rogers of the Earth Defense Ship Vanguard. Release your hostages immediately and withdraw from this sector. His voice was calm but carried unmistakable authority. For a long moment, there was silence. Then a harsh voice responded, filled with disbelief. Unknown human vessel. You dare to make demands? You have entered restricted space and interrupted a lawful judgment. Identify your capabilities immediately or be destroyed. Lieutenant Kelly looked up. That's Commander Vexthal, sir. The one who made the threat broadcast. Rogers nodded. Commander Vexthal, we have no interest in your threats. You hold citizens of Earth against their will. Release them and we can discuss terms. The alien's laugh rasped over the communication channel. Your primitive vessel does not concern us. Observe the consequences of human arrogance. Incoming fire, Patterson called. Multiple energy weapons targeting our forward section. Rogers didn't flinch. Let them hit. Dr. Mitchell, prepare to demonstrate the regenerative armor. The bridge crew watched as brilliant beams of energy streaked toward the Vanguard. The impacts struck the hull directly, creating ripples of blue light where they connected. Direct hits on forward sections, Chief Engineer Peter Wright reported from his station. Regenerative armor functioning at optimal levels. No damage to report. On the view screen, the Khazari ships were repositioning, clearly confused by the lack of damage to the human vessel. They're preparing a second volley, Patterson warned. More concentrated this time. Rogers turned to Dr. Mitchell. Now would be a good time for that demonstration, Doctor. Mitchell nodded and activated her console. Regenerative field set to visible spectrum. As the next wave of Khazari weapons fire struck the ship, the impacts were absorbed by a shimmering blue field that rippled across the Vanguard's hull. The energy didn't just dissipate, it was visibly absorbed, strengthening the shield itself. Send the message again, Lieutenant, Rogers ordered. Add that we want visual confirmation of our people's safety. After transmitting the message, Kelly looked up with surprise. Sir, we're being hailed by the station. It's not a Khazari signal. On screen. The view screen changed to show a human face, a woman with a cut above her eye, clearly one of the hostages. This is Linda Vasquez, assistant to the diplomatic team, she said quickly. There are 23 of us still alive. The Khazari have placed explosive devices throughout this section of the station. Rogers leaned forward. Are you under guard now? 2 guards outside this room. They don't know I've accessed this channel, she replied, looking nervously over her shoulder. Understood. Stand by, Ms. Vasquez, help is coming. As Rogers ended the transmission, Patterson spoke up. The Khazari fleet is forming an attack position. All ships targeting us now. Rogers turned to Wright. Can we extend our shield to protect the station? Not while we're absorbing this much energy, the engineer replied. We'd have to drop our forward defenses. Rogers considered his options. Navigator, position us directly between their main fleet and the station. Dr. Mitchell, prepare the gravity manipulation array. Mitchell's eyes widened. Sir, we've never used it in actual combat. No time like the present, Rogers replied grimly. Configure for non-lethal demonstration. As the Vanguard moved to shield the station, the Khazari commander's voice boomed over the comm once more. Your ship is impressive, human, but it cannot be everywhere. We will destroy the station and your diplomatic team with it. Then we will learn the secrets of your vessel from its wreckage. Rogers signaled Kelly to mute the transmission. Options for the hostages? Security Chief Patterson spoke up. Sir, I've been analyzing their patrol patterns. There's a maintenance airlock on the far side of the station. If we can get a team there, we might reach the hostages before they know we're aboard. Time required? 8 minutes minimum, Patterson replied. Rogers nodded. We need to buy that time. Dr. Mitchell, is the gravity array ready? Yes, Captain. Targeting solutions prepared for their propulsion systems only. Rogers took a deep breath. Deploy security team to the maintenance airlock. Lieutenant Kelly, open the channel to Vexthal again. The Khazari commander's face appeared on screen, mandibles twitching in what Rogers assumed was anticipation. Your time expires, human. We begin executions now. Rogers stood tall. Commander Vexthal, I'm only going to say this once. You've mistaken our restraint for weakness. That ends now. He nodded to Dr. Mitchell. Demonstrate, Doctor. Target their engines only. Mitchell activated the gravity manipulation array. The Vanguard hummed as enormous energy surged through its systems. Outside, visible distortions appeared in space around the 5 main Khazari warships. Their engines, subjected to localized gravity fields thousands of times Earth normal, imploded. With silent flashes, all 5 warships went dark, drifting helplessly in space. Gravity pulse complete, Mitchell reported. 5 vessels disabled. Their weapons and life support remain functional, but propulsion is destroyed. The bridge was silent as Rogers stepped forward to address the stunned Khazari commander. Now, about those hostages, Rogers said calmly. You have 2 options. Release them immediately, or find out what else this human battleship can do. The 2 remaining Xari vessels near the station began backing away. Security team away, Patterson reported quietly. 7 minutes to hostage extraction. Rogers nodded. Keep our gravity weapons locked on those last 2 ships. If they move toward the station, disable them too. As the standoff continued, Navigator, Diaz whispered what everyone was thinking. They never expected us to fight back, did they? Rogers kept his eyes on the screen. That's always been humanity's advantage, Mr. Diaz. We're constantly underestimated. Outside, against the backdrop of disabled alien warships, the USS Vanguard held position, its dark hull absorbing the light of distant stars, waiting. 6 minutes passed in tense silence on the bridge of the USS Vanguard. Captain Alan Rogers kept his eyes fixed on the disabled Khazari ships floating helplessly in space. Security team status? Rogers asked. They've reached the maintenance airlock. Sir, Security Chief Grace Patterson reported. Now cutting through the secondary doors. No resistance yet. Lieutenant Samantha Kelly looked up from her communications station. Captain, we're receiving multiple transmissions. 3 from Earth. Command and... She paused, checking her screen. 17 from various Confederation vessels. Rogers raised an eyebrow. 17? Word travels fast, Chief Engineer Peter Wright said dryly, especially when someone humiliates the Khazari. Incoming transmission from Commander Vexthal, Kelly announced. Rogers nodded. On screen, the Khazari commander's face appeared, his mandibles tight against his face in what the human crew had learned to recognize as barely controlled rage. Your tactics are unexpected, human, Vexthal said. But you have made a grave mistake. The Khazari do not stand alone in the Confederation. Rogers kept his expression neutral. Neither do humans, Commander. Release our people and we can end this without further incident. You will regret this insult, Vexthal snarled before cutting the transmission. Sir, Patterson called out. Security team reports they've reached the hostages. 23 confirmed alive. They're preparing for extraction now. Rogers allowed himself a small smile. Excellent. Time to departure? 4 minutes, Captain. Dr. Laura Mitchell spoke up from her station. Captain, I'm detecting energy buildups in the 2 operational Khazari vessels. They appear to be preparing to fire on the station section containing the hostages. Rogers straightened immediately. Target both ships with gravity pulses. Disable their weapons. Targeting, Mitchell confirmed. Ready. Fire. The Vanguard hummed again as the gravity weapons activated. Space distorted around the weapon systems of both Khazari ships. Metal crumpled and energy conduits ruptured under the intense gravitational pressure. Both vessels' weapon systems disabled, Mitchell reported. Their communications arrays were also affected. They can't call for help. Navigator John Diaz looked up from his console. Captain, multiple fold space ruptures detected at the edge of the system. 8, no, 12 ships emerging. The bridge crew tensed, but Rogers remained calm. Identification? 6, Khazari warships, Diaz replied. Then his expression changed to surprise. The others are Confederation peacekeepers. and one diplomatic vessel from the Arcturian Alliance. Rogers turned to Kelly. We're being hailed by the diplomatic vessel. On screen, the image shifted to show a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes. This is Diplomat Eric Mason of Earth, the human said, standing beside the alien. Captain Rogers, this is Confederation. Mediator Zoran. Rogers nodded respectfully. Mediator, this is unexpected. As was your ship, Captain, Zoran replied, voice melodious despite the tension. The Confederation Council has called an emergency session. The Xari have filed formal complaints against Earth for hiding military capabilities. Mason stepped forward. Captain, the situation has become complicated. The Council wants representatives from both sides to appear immediately. Our people? Rogers asked. Security team reports hostages are secured and en route to extraction point. Patterson answered quietly. Rogers turned back to the screen. Mediator Zoran, we came to rescue hostages taken illegally during a diplomatic mission. We disabled, not destroyed, the Khazari vessels that fired on us. Nevertheless, Zoran said, this incident has caused significant concern among council members. The Vanguard's capabilities were unexpected. Lieutenant Kelly muted the transmission briefly. Sir, security team reports they're aboard with all hostages. Medical is treating minor injuries. Rogers nodded and unmuted the channel. Mediator, we will attend your council session. Please transmit coordinates. After ending the transmission, Rogers turned to his officers. Lieutenant Kelly, contact Admiral Hart. He needs to know we're heading to the Confederation hub. The council session could be a trap, Patterson warned. The Khazari won't forgive this humiliation. Wright snorted. Let them try something. They've seen what we can do. Which is precisely the problem, Rogers replied. We've shown capabilities beyond what any species expected humans to have. That makes us a threat in their eyes. Dr. Mitchell looked concerned. The gravity weapons were supposed to be our last resort. Now everyone knows about them. Not everything, Rogers said. Navigator, set course for the Confederation hub at Haven Station. Lieutenant Kelly, prepare all records of the Khazari attack on Europa. We'll need evidence to support our actions. As the crew prepared for departure, Rogers called Chief Medical Officer Daniel Green to the bridge. The doctor arrived looking tired but satisfied. How are our people? Rogers asked. Mostly dehydration and minor injuries, Green replied. Nothing serious, they're shaken but alive. And what about Linda Vasquez? The one who contacted us? Green smiled. Smart woman. She managed to hack into the Khazari communication system, using parts from a food dispenser. She wants to thank you personally. Rogers nodded. I'll meet with her after we're underway. Anything else I should know? Just one thing, Green said more seriously. According to the hostages, the Khazari were recording everything. They planned to broadcast the executions across the Confederation as a warning to other, lesser species. The captain's expression hardened. So this wasn't just about Earth. No, Green confirmed. They were making an example of us for others to see. Rogers turned to look at the view screen where the disabled Khazari ships floated silently. Well, they certainly got their example, just not the one they wanted. An hour later, the Vanguard approached the massive space station known as Haven, the central meeting place for the Galactic Confederation. The station was a marvel of engineering, a spinning wheel over 15 kilometers in diameter with representatives from over 30 spacefaring species. We're being directed to dock at the military section, Kelly reported. Rogers nodded. Security, prepare an honor guard for our diplomatic team. Dr. Mitchell, you'll accompany me to the council session. They'll have questions about our technology. Sir, Kelly interrupted. Incoming transmission from Admiral Hart. Hart's face appeared on screen, looking both pleased and concerned. Captain Rogers, I see the rescue was successful. Yes, Admiral. All hostages recovered safely. Hart nodded. Good work, but this situation has escalated beyond a simple rescue mission. The Xari High General Drazkor has personally filed grievances against Earth. He claims we violated Confederation treaties by concealing military technology. We never signed any treaty requiring disclosure, Rogers pointed out. Correct, but perception matters in the Confederation. Many species are now questioning what else we might be hiding. Hart sighed. The Vanguard was supposed to be revealed during peaceful negotiations, not in combat. Rogers straightened his uniform. What are your orders, sir? Proceed to the council session. Answer their questions honestly, but reveal no further capabilities unless absolutely necessary. Diplomat Mason will take the lead on negotiations. Hart's expression grew serious. And Captain, well done. The Khazari won't underestimate humanity again. As the transmission ended, Rogers looked around at his bridge crew. Let's hope that's a good thing. The USS Vanguard approached the docking port of Haven Station, its dark hull standing out among the colorful vessels of the Confederation. The real battle, Rogers knew, was just beginning. The council chamber of Haven Station hummed with the voices of 24 different species. Captain Alan Rogers stood beside diplomat Eric Mason as they waited to be called forward. The circular room was designed to put everyone on equal footing, with the council members seated on ascending rings and speakers at the center. They've been arguing for nearly an hour, Mason whispered. The Khazari delegation is pushing hard for sanctions against Earth. Rogers watched as High General Drazakor, a larger and more decorated Khazari than Commander Vexthal, gestured angrily at the council. What's their main complaint? That we hid military technology, Mason replied. But several other species are defending us, the Arcturians especially. Confederation mediator Zoran stood and raised all 4 of his hands for silence. We will now hear from the Earth representatives. As Rogers and Mason walked to the center of the chamber, Lieutenant Samantha Kelly's voice came through Rogers' earpiece. Captain, we're picking up unusual readings from the edge of the system. Lieutenant Commander Olivia Reyes is analyzing them now. Keep me informed, Rogers muttered as he took his place. Mediator Zoran spoke formally. Captain Rogers of the Earth vessel Vanguard, you stand accused of violating Confederation norms by concealing advanced military capabilities. How do you respond? Rogers stepped forward. Mediator, members of the Council, Earth has concealed nothing that we were required to reveal. The USS Vanguard was built for defense, not conquest. We used it only after the Khazari attacked our outpost on Europa and took our diplomatic staff hostage. High General Drazakor rose to his feet. The human lies. Their ship appeared without warning, using unknown technology. It attacked our vessels with weapons designed to cripple rather than destroy, a calculated insult to the Khazari fleet. We have evidence of the unprovoked attack on Europa, Mason countered, activating a holographic display. 26 humans were killed. The diplomatic mission was operating under Confederation protection. The council chamber erupted in debate. As the images played, Rogers noticed several species conferring urgently with each other. His earpiece activated again. Captain, Kelly said urgently, Commander Reyes reports multiple fold space signatures at the system edge. They match no known configuration. Rogers kept his expression neutral. Numbers? 3 large vessels, sir. Very large. A tall, insect-like being called for attention. The Hive Coalition asks why humans felt it necessary to develop such technology in secret, if not to gain advantage over established species. Rogers addressed the question directly. Throughout human history, new civilizations encountering more advanced ones have often suffered. We built the Vanguard not because we wanted war, but because we studied history. Peace is not maintained through weakness. Pretty words to justify deception, Drazakor sneered. Before Rogers could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the chamber. Zoran looked down at a message on his console, his 4 eyes widening. Council session suspended, the mediator announced. Unidentified vessels have entered the system and are not responding to hails. Rogers' earpiece came alive again. Captain, Kelly's voice was tense. The unknown vessels have changed course. They're heading directly for Haven Station, speed exceeding anything in our records. I need to return to my ship, Rogers told Zoran. The mediator nodded. All military vessels are requested to prepare defensive positions. As Rogers hurried from the chamber, He could hear the council erupting into chaos behind him. Mason followed closely. "What's happening?" the diplomat asked. "Unknown ships entering the system," Rogers replied, breaking into a run toward the docking bay. "And they're not here for the council meeting." When they reached the Vanguard, Security Chief Patterson was waiting with Lieutenant Commander Olivia Reyes, the ship's intelligence officer. "3 vessels, unknown configuration," Reyes reported as they hurried to the bridge. "They're not responding to any standard greeting protocols." Once on the bridge, Rogers saw the sensor readings for himself. The 3 ships were massive, each at least 5 times the size of the Vanguard, with strange crystalline structures protruding from their hulls. "Any match in Confederation records?" Rogers asked. "None," Reyes replied. "But I found something interesting in the Khazari transmissions we intercepted. They mentioned something called the Void Harbingers several times, always with references to ancient warnings." Rogers turned to Kelly. "Status of Haven Station?" "They're evacuating the civilian sections and powering up defensive shields," she reported. "All military vessels are being ordered to form a defensive line." "Including the Khazari ships?" Kelly nodded. "The 6 that arrived after our confrontation." Rogers studied the tactical display. "Navigator, position us between those unknown vessels and Haven Station." "Dr. Mitchell, what can you tell me about these ships?" Dr. Laura Mitchell analyzed the sensor readings. "Their energy signatures are like nothing I've seen before, Captain. Almost ancient. The technology seems to operate on principles different from any known species." "Incoming transmission," Kelly announced, "from the lead unknown vessel." "On screen," Rogers ordered. The view screen flickered and then showed what appeared to be a mechanical face. Not a being in a helmet, but an actual mechanical construct with glowing red sensors where eyes should be. "Organic vessels," the mechanical voice stated flatly. "Your conflicts have activated our Sentinel protocols. This sector has been scheduled for purification." Rogers stepped forward. "This is Captain Alan Rogers of Earth Vessel Vanguard. What do you mean by purification?" "The removal of conflict-prone organic life," the mechanical being replied. "Your species and the Khazari have demonstrated incompatibility with stable galactic order. You will be removed." The transmission ended abruptly. Rogers turned to his crew. "Battle stations." Outside, the 3 massive vessels began to accelerate toward Haven Station. Smaller objects detached from their hulls. Hundreds of them, each the size of a shuttle. "They're launching attack drones," Patterson warned, "heading for Haven and all defending ships." Rogers watched as the Confederation and Khazari vessels opened fire on the approaching drones. Their weapons seemed to have minimal effect. "Sir," Kelly called out, "we're being hailed by the Khazari flagship." Rogers nodded, and High General Drazkor's face appeared on screen. The Khazari looked shaken. "Captain Rogers," the general said, his earlier hostility gone. "These are the Void Harbingers, ancient machines that hibernate until they detect civilizations at war. They awaken to eliminate both sides of any conflict." "You knew about them?" Rogers demanded. Drazkor hesitated. "There were legends. We did not believe they still existed." A massive explosion lit up space as one of the Confederation ships was destroyed by the drones. "Captain," Dr. Mitchell said urgently, "I believe our gravity weapons might affect their technology. If we can create a focused gravity wave of sufficient intensity." Rogers made his decision. "General Drazkor, we need to coordinate our defense. The Vanguard will target the lead vessel with our gravity weapons. Can your ships provide cover against the drones?" The Khazari general looked surprised but nodded. "We will fight alongside you, human." As the transmission ended, Engineer Lisa Dawson spoke up from her station. She had been studying the alien ship's energy patterns. "Captain, if we combine our gravity weapons with a fold space burst, we might be able to create a disruptive field that would affect their systems." Rogers considered this. "A field we've never tested in combat." "It's our best option," Dawson insisted. "These harbingers are unlike anything we've faced." Rogers nodded. "Make it happen." Navigator, bring us within optimal range of the lead vessel. As the Vanguard moved into position, the bridge crew watched the Khazari ships form a protective screen around them, firing continuously at the approaching drones. Ready with gravity weapons and fold space generators, Mitchell reported. Rogers opened a channel to all ships. This is Captain Rogers. Earth and Khazari ships will engage the lead Harbinger vessel. All other defenders, focus on the drones protecting the other two ships. He looked at his crew, determination in his eyes. Let's show these machines what happens when they threaten our worlds. The USS Vanguard surged forward, its engines glowing brightly against the darkness of space. Behind it, 6 Khazari warships formed a protective screen, firing continuously at the swarm of mechanical drones. Time to intercept with the lead Harbinger. Vessel? Captain Alan Rogers asked, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. 2 minutes, sir. Navigator John Diaz replied, hands moving rapidly across his controls. Lieutenant Samantha Kelly looked up from her communication station. Captain, we're receiving distress calls from 3 Confederation ships. Their weapons are having minimal effect on the drones. Rogers nodded grimly. Stay the course. Our best chance is to disable the lead ship. The bridge shook as several drones targeted the Vanguard, their energy weapons striking the regenerative armor. Shields holding at 80%, Dr. Laura Mitchell reported, but the impacts are getting stronger. They're adapting to our defenses. Engineer Lisa Dawson spoke from her engineering station. Captain, the combined gravity weapon and fold space burst is ready, but there's a problem. To generate a field powerful enough, we'll need to divert power from our shields. Rogers considered this news. How vulnerable will that leave us? We'll have minimal defensive capabilities for approximately 45 seconds, Dawson replied. Another hit rocked the ship. Chief Engineer Peter Wright called up from main engineering. Sir, these drones are learning. Each hit is more precisely targeted than the last. Khazari flagship is hailing us, Kelly announced. Rogers nodded and High General Drazakor appeared on screen. The Khazari leader looked battle-worn, with smoke visible on his bridge. Captain Rogers, my ships cannot hold against these machines much longer. Whatever you plan to do, do it quickly. We're preparing a combined attack, Rogers explained, but we'll need to drop our shields. Drazakor's mandibles clicked, and what Rogers had learned was a sign of respect. Then we will protect you. The Khazari know how to recognize worthy allies, even former enemies. As the transmission ended, Security Chief Grace Patterson spoke up. Sir, I don't trust them. This could be a trap. We don't have a choice, Rogers replied. Lieutenant Kelly, open a channel to all our allied ships. When the channel was open, Rogers addressed the combined fleet. This is Captain Rogers. The Vanguard will attack the lead Harbinger vessel with our main weapons. We'll need to drop our shields to do so. We're counting on your protection. He looked at his crew. All hands, prepare for combat maneuvers. Dr. Mitchell, Engineer Dawson, begin power transfer to the gravity weapons. The massive human battleship accelerated toward the lead Harbinger vessel, now clearly visible on the view screen. Its crystalline structures pulsed with eerie red light, and parts of its hull seemed to shift and reconfigure as they watched. They're adapting to our approach, Science Officer Emma Wilson noted. The Harbinger is changing its configuration to defend against us. Rogers leaned forward in his chair. Can they predict what we're about to do? I don't believe so, Wilson replied. Our combined gravity and fold space attack has never been seen before. 1 minute to optimal firing range, Diaz announced. Kelly turned from her station. Sir, more ships are joining our formation. 3 Arcturian cruisers and a Confederation flagship. The bridge crew looked surprised as Confederation Admiral Trelvan's face appeared on screen. The Admiral's scaled face was solemn. Captain Rogers, the Confederation stands with you. These Harbingers threaten all our worlds. The Vanguard shook violently as more drone attacks hit their shields. Shields at 40%, Mitchell reported. We need to act now. Rogers nodded. All Allied ships, this is Rogers. Form a defensive screen around the Vanguard. We're dropping shields to fire in 30 seconds. The view screen showed their Allied vessels moving into position, creating a protective formation around the human battleship. "Ready gravity weapons and fold space generators," Rogers ordered. "Target the central core of the lead Harbinger." "Ready, sir," Mitchell confirmed. Rogers took a deep breath. "Drop shields. Divert all power to weapons." The hum of the ship changed as energy flowed into the combined weapons system. Outside, the Allied ships intensified their fire, destroying dozens of drones that tried to target the suddenly vulnerable Vanguard. "Gravity field at maximum," Mitchell reported. "Fold space generators online." "Fire!" Rogers commanded. The Vanguard released its attack. Unlike conventional weapons, there was no visible beam or projectile. Instead, space itself seemed to distort around the lead Harbinger vessel. A rippling wave of distorted space-time enveloped the ancient machine, causing its crystalline structures to bend and twist in impossible ways. "Direct hit," Mitchell announced. "Their systems are destabilizing." On the view screen, the massive Harbinger vessel began to break apart, its components collapsing inward as gravity crushed them. At the same time, the fold space effect tore open, tiny rifts throughout its structure. "The other Harbinger vessels are retreating," Patterson reported, surprise evident in her voice. Rogers watched as the lead vessel imploded, collapsing into a dense mass before a final energy surge caused it to explode in a burst of light. "Restore shields," Rogers ordered. "Status report." "Shields coming back online at 30%, Mitchell replied. "Gravity weapons depleted. We'll need at least 2 hours to recharge." "The remaining Harbingers are entering fold space," Kelly announced. "They're leaving the system." A cheer went up on the bridge, quickly silenced by Rogers' raised hand. "Casualties?" "We lost 4 Allied ships," Patterson reported soberly. 2 Khazari, 1 Confederation, 1 Arcturian. "But the Haven station is safe." Rogers nodded gravely. "Open a channel to all ships." When the channel was active, he spoke clearly and firmly. "This is Captain Rogers. The immediate threat has been neutralized, but the Harbingers will return. They now know our capabilities and will adapt. We need to prepare." High General Drazkor's voice responded first. "The Khazari fought well alongside humans today. Perhaps there are things we can learn from each other." "Captain Rogers," Confederation Admiral Trelevan added, "the Council will want to speak with you immediately. This changes everything." 3 hours later, Rogers stood again in the Council chamber. This time the mood was drastically different. Representatives from 24 species listened intently as he described the Harbinger threat. "These machines target civilizations in conflict," Rogers explained. "Our dispute with the Zari activated them. Next time, they'll come in greater numbers." Mediator Zoran stepped forward. "The Council has reviewed the battle records. Without the Vanguard, Haven Station would have been destroyed." High General Drazkor, now standing beside Rogers rather than opposite him, addressed the Council. "The Khazari withdraw our complaints against Earth. We propose instead a joint defense initiative against the Harbinger threat." Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber. Diplomat Eric Mason looked at Rogers and smiled slightly. "Not exactly the diplomatic mission we planned," he whispered. Rogers nodded. "But perhaps the one we needed." As the Council began discussing the formation of a unified fleet, Rogers' communicator signaled. It was Admiral Hart from Earth. "Well done, Captain," Hart said when Rogers stepped away to take the call. "The President wants you back on Earth immediately to brief the Defense Council. Bring the Khazari representatives with you." Rogers looked back at the Council chamber, where former enemies now worked together against a common threat. "Understood, Admiral. The Vanguard will return once repairs are complete." "One more thing, Captain," Hart added. "We're accelerating production of the second battleship. You've proven the concept works." Rogers smiled slightly. "I'll be sure to tell the Harbingers, when they return, human battleships incoming.